talking to? What are you trying to prove to everyone else? Who is superior? How is your vision clearer than anyone else? Your head's in the sky, in flight, but you will crash and burn. But you will crash it!
So welcome to Agency Land, a podcast about advertising ambition and the lies we tell ourselves to survive both.
I love it.
If that isn't my midlife crisis just staring me in the face, I'm not sure what is. But
my friend, I'm here for it.
yeah. So when I started preparing for your interview, I realized that I couldn't write your biography, your career, just anything about you in a single sentence. Like you've done agency side, you've done product side, you've done charities, you've done academics, and now you're working at a bank, a global bank. So I just couldn't write a good one. And I'm like, I'm just going to list this off. But the most interesting part that I really hadn't connected with was that you founded an agency, you sold it, then you went and ran the agency that bought it. And you've been in London, City and Singapore, and
Tokyo.
Tokyo. And somehow you managed to teach at universities through that, and you've done campaigns for Nokia or like humanitarian crisis responses. That's a big resume.
You made me sound like such a desperate overachiever.
Well, I think overachieving, yes. Desperate, absolutely not. I don't think there's anything you could be. So if I think about that, you found an agency, you sold it, you went into a global bank, you wrote a book, which I'll come to as well, which not only do I have a copy of, I was watching it being presented upstairs. I've got a signed copy. I was there ground floor.
You bought the book before there was even a book.
Yeah, because I knew it would be good.
Thank you.
Which version of Katja am I currently talking to, and who's running the show in your life right now?
Oh, I'm always running the show.
Yeah.
No, it's a collaboration between me and my husband, Graham. We run the show together. Because my show doesn't run without his roadie work. I don't know. Like he's the guy, the grease and rails underneath everything that I do. And so I don't think that there wouldn't be a show if we weren't working on it together. I mean, I definitely steer where I want my career to go and what I want to do and what I want to achieve. But yeah, nobody gets to be a desperate overachiever alone.
Yeah.
I think for damn sure.
I think that's something no one talks about enough, that it's often those people who are in great successful parts of their career. It's been the collaboration of lots of people, not just them, but often I think people, when they admire them, they think, where does this one person find all that time their day? But you soon realize that it's about working with the people around you.
Yeah, and I think I've had incredible teams across my career, particularly my team at SIFT, the agency that I founded. They believed in a vision for something that was pretty ambiguous and unformed at the start. And I'm always going to be grateful for this. They put their trust in me to steward their careers.
Yeah.
In a way that was meaningful, in a way that, let them pay their mortgages. Let's be real about this. Like when you take on people who are your employees, you kind of take on all of their lives and the things that they're trying to achieve. And I'm so grateful for that original crew for trusting that I was going to do right by them. And I think if you went and polled them, I'd be more than 80% did right by everybody and everybody was happy. I don't know. I'm a hard marker, so maybe, maybe all of them would say lovely things.
Look,
but it is.
I'm sure
people.
They would. Did you wear that emotionally as well as kind of that mental responsibility? Because similarly, like I understand entirely what you mean, that I don't think a lot of people know that emotional weight that you can have as a leader or as a founder. Like, how did you wear that?
Yes, I think the emotional toll that leading people takes on you is definitely not discussed. And I think the other expectation is from people who you leave is that you have a completely, constant, magically refreshing flow of emotional gifts to give to people, that your well is infinite. And when you kind of get tapped out or you're burned out, people kind of don't realize, and they're like, but you've always got the things to give. And so I think that is one thing that I would definitely, I don't know, reflect on, where
Yeah.
I set boundaries, how much of myself I gave to other people,
Mm.
and recognizing that maybe there were a few gifts that I gave that I could have probably salvaged myself instead of give those out.
I think your giveaway was in the language. It's like you either give up or you tap out, so
Mm,
you burn out or you tap out. And I think for a lot of people in agency land, they're often the two last resorts. You either learn to take yourself out or there's just no other choice.
mm,
For
mm.
you, if you reflect back in terms of the start of your career, where did you really cut your teeth? Was it at Sapient? Was it at RGA? Was it at SIFT? Like,
Mm.
was there a moment or a part in your career when you really realized that this is where I'm cutting my teeth? This is where I'm getting to that next level?
So I think it was even earlier than my Sapient days, which was, those started in the end of 2000. My first agency experience was with an Australian agency called Spike. And it was the wild west of running an agency, because I now have many spectrum of experiences, and I have kind of like the professional agency up here, and I get what good looks like from a professional perspective. But then I have like where I started in Spike, where we were all like, we're 20-year-olds who had been given this gift of new technology that nobody understood, like the internet. And we were running around with such arrogance and such self-possession that we knew what the new world looked like, and everybody who didn't get it was kind of a bit old or dumb. And these were the days where people would pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to build them a website, which if you look at what we do now, like with Lovable or Figma Make and stuff, like, you can build a website in under 2 minutes.
There was a real
But
digital arrogance in that,
indeed.
and that's because I remember Spike really well. I was working for
Mm.
Amy at the time, and every we had our own digital agency association back then.
Yeah, and it was a very, like, digital arrogance is a great way to describe it. But what it did do was it gave me the opportunity to figure out what happens when you work with clients. What happens when you don't deliver on your promises to clients? Because we were also like, we had no idea how to manage scope or, particularly run projects very well. And so, and I'm guilty. I've made outrageous promises to clients, not actually understanding that all of those promises were going to cost money to deliver on. And if we didn't deliver on the promises, then, we were probably going to get in trouble. So that was kind of my first, I guess, agency experience where it was pretty sketchy a lot of the time.
And
And
And I think that goes back to digital agencies were practitioners. They were the experts. They were at that
Mm.
point the smartest people in the room, and it came with
Oh,
this
we
lack of
definitely thought we
foresight
were.
of what is client service and like how do we deliver on these things? What are communications? And I
Yeah.
remember my own arrogance going from a digital agency walking back into a PR agency who understood client service to an nth degree, but
Mm.
because they didn't understand back then a Facebook app, clearly I was more important in the room. And I look back now and I'm just like, the best lesson I ever learned, I share this with everyone, is my boss sitting me down and going, you don't need to be right to get what you want.
Ah, that's
And that
gold.
stuck with me forever. And it's just taught me to sit down, shut up. You might be right, but that is
Mm.
never going to get you what you want. Being right
Mm.
is never good enough.
Yeah, no, hard agree on that one. That is fascinating. And there was one that I heard recently, which I think I would have I would have benefited from earlier in my career, which is don't believe your own PR. We're not the shining bright light of the world that perhaps we think we are. And I think when I went from Spike to Sapient, the level just went up. The level was ratcheted right up, because the first thing that they did was send me to Tokyo. And to work on a couple of different projects. One was very workshop oriented. It was for AXA non-life insurance. So it was with a group of French people living in Tokyo. And that's kind of where I learned, do you know what? You put me in front of a room, I'm going to be able to run this. I'm going to be able to say smart things. I'm going to be able to get people to come with me on a journey. I'm going to be able to energize people. And that was a great thing to find out early in my career, because it's actually set me up for so many things that I have done in my agency life across the rest of my career, and into, working client side where I am at the moment. And looking at the skills that I learned, I am most grateful for the ability to stand up in front of people with no nerves and talk about things that I think are useful, things that they think are useful. And that was an incredible gift from that time that I spent there.
Why did that happen at Sapien and not at Spike?
All right. I'm going to go the patriarchy. In the 1990s, we
Way
had
back then. Yep.
we had a different set of social circumstances, particularly women in the workplace. And in the first organization, it was run by men. There were some women leaders in there, mostly on the creative side. But the leaders and the loudest voices in the room were the men in that organization. I was in my 20s, and I just sort of hadn't come fully into my my full power as
Yeah.
as a woman operating in the world
Yeah.
at that time. And so I found myself, and this is actually probably the first time I've reflected on this. So thank you for asking this question. I found myself taking a back seat in a lot of things. And when I pushed to the front, getting pushed back again. And I found out when I left that organization that all the
Yeah.
men were paid more than me
Yeah.
in the
Wow.
same role. And I'm going to say that the construct of that business was not conducive to a young woman finding out what she could or couldn't do, or wanted to do. When I went into Sapient, it was a much bigger organization. So it had a proper HR department. It had core values. It had stuff that I hadn't actually ever seen before in an organization. And going to work in that organization, opportunity was created. Opportunity was offered. Everybody had to pitch in to do stuff. There was a higher expectation of your skills, abilities, and contribution. And so being given that opportunity and getting pushed, I thrived. I absolutely thrived in that. And I loved my very first adventure to Tokyo, which also pushed me totally outside my comfort zone, because I'd never lived and worked anywhere outside Australia, and going to a non-English speaking country as the very first place it's just like magic. And it was life-changing. That whole first entry into Sapient, plus going to Tokyo, and the opportunities that came out of that were life-changing.
I think that's such a great story around structure and what structure and size and scale gives an individual, especially being a woman in a very male-centric world, male-dominated world where people shy away from scale and structure because they think it's not as cool, it's not as good. But actually what it gives you is a framework to work within that actually lets you be, a better you, and gives you these opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have.
And I think there were definitely women in Spike, that I can think of, Ruby Blessing, Louisa Donnell, who were powerhouse ladies, but they were older than me. I'd say both of those people were much more self-possessed than me. And so I think I was not mature enough to forge my path in that organization in the same way, which is why having some scaffolding or structure, as you say, really helped somebody like me at that
Yeah.
age, at that point in my career, to get into my big girl boots and like really start to fly.
And I think that's a good lesson as well. It's because you won't have the maturity yet. You won't have the experience yet. Those things have to be earned. You can't be coached through it. And I think a lot of people aren't. I get frustrated, get dissatisfied where they are at their point in their career because of an age, because of a title.
Mm.
But the thing is, the people who have made it, who have gotten there, they've got these memories. They feel almost like regrets the way people speak about them. But I kind of think like they're actually just these beautiful stories of, yeah, I was this arrogant. Yeah, I was this silly. Or yes, I'd been crushed. I hadn't been given the opportunity, or, I'd been held back. I should have spoken up more. But they're things you have to learn along the way.
Yeah. Experience is the thing you get right after you needed it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It was told to me by an ambulance driver after I fell off my motorcycle.
Well, I did. Yeah, that's something an ambulance driver, I'm sure, says a lot to a lot of motorcycle drivers as well.
Yeah.
Forgot you rode a bike. Building Sift and then managing Designer, what would you have done differently as a leader, as a manager, as a founder?
Whoa, yeah, that's a tricky one to answer. I think in managing Sift, I learned some really strong lessons about clarity of communication and clarity of communication of intent. Sometimes we try to say nice things to people because we, want them to be happy. We want them to like us. We want them to, do good works. Sometimes we need to be clear, and that is actually the kindest thing we can do for people. Even if being clear, you have to give hard answers. And I kind of wish that I had learned that a little earlier. Because when I got to the maths of SIFT, like the maths wasn't mathing. We were just not able to charge enough money in those particular times for the work that we were doing, to make it super profitable. We kind of would break even. Like we would be okay every month, but not amazing. It wasn't like some sort of retirement plan that I was working on that I was going to be able to like make heaps of money. Because sometimes I look back at that and I go, was I just not charging enough? But then I also look at what competitors were charging, and the bigger agencies that have all of the the client roster and scaffolding and things like that, they were charging more, but I didn't have any of that to justify those gigantic prices. And then, if you're operating sort of against the rest of the boutiques, then the little ones will undercut you. It's a tough space to be in, that sort of middle lane of agency land. Not like a 2-person show, which is really lean, but also not a massive organization with all of the resources behind it that can help you through a lean month, or justify you raising rates. So it's a tough lane in agency land, that one. So I mean, I would have done some of that a bit differently. Going through the merger and acquisition, boy, did I learn some lessons.
Yeah.
It was really interesting going through it because it was kind of treated like $1 billion deal, and it really wasn't.
Who treated it like $1 billion deal? You did,
the acquiring party. The
right.
acquiring party. Lots of paperwork, like telephone books first. Nobody knows what telephone books are anymore, but like stacks of paper, fat stacks of paper, of terms and conditions, and like the negotiations being screwed down, and and it was really formative having that experience, and I would approach that probably differently, knowing now what I know about mergers and acquisitions and negotiation. running design in for Wipro, the acquiring party. That taught me another bunch of really huge and amazing lessons, because now I was part of a global leadership team. I was running a whole region. I had people, like when I was running SIFT, I was the only person who cared about the P&L. Now I had a whole lot of people who cared about the P&L, and were very conscious of, where we were in terms of pipeline forecasts, whether we were breaking even, not breaking even, money going out, the whole 9 yards. And also when I was at SIFT, I'd never paid myself properly. Like I was the last one to get paid.
Yep.
And also, like, I didn't pay myself a market salary because I wanted to be a successful business. But a successful business that can't support and sustain the person who's running that business at an appropriate market level salary, it's not a thing. That's not a successful business. So going into design it, then I was able to, like, I was earning a proper salary, but then I had to offset that lovely proper salary by bringing in work and making the whole thing work. And it was super challenging.
Did you enjoy any of that? The managing the books, the revenue, cash flow for SIFT, transitioning into an M&A deal, dealing with lawyers, dealing with paperwork, dealing with accountants, then going to a regional role where it's just pure commercial because you've left your practitioner side. Did you enjoy it?
I am not an operations person. I enjoyed looking at the bank account when there was lots of money in it with SIFT. That was fun. I liked that. I liked looking at people paying us for stuff. In terms of the mechanics of doing that, like I had bookkeepers when I was running SIFT, people who were responsible for that kind of work, and doing the nuanced, the very day-to-day of that, somebody else. When I went into design it, one of the first people that I hired was an operations manager, somebody who was going to do all of that kind of stuff for me. And to this day, Kate Tapar, oh my God, one of the best in the business. If I could just take that woman with me everywhere I go, I would have done it. But it was really, that's the grind of running a business. And it's one that people don't teach you as well. If you want to start a design business, a garden landscaping business, a medical practice, whatever, all of your vocational training or training in the subject matter expertise that you have, none of that includes how to run a business, how to do the books, how to make sure it's sustainable, how to make sure that you're going to break even, or how to make a profit. Like nobody teaches you that. You learn that on the job. And
even if you do read about it, it's a lot different when it's your numbers because you can't separate being the founder, having the emotion. You're right. Like I'd have a good day and a bad day if there was lots of money in the account or there wasn't. And if you think about that's your first emotional charge every day before you sit down and have to run a team of 10 people. That's a terrible frame of mind to go, let's be creative. By the way, we're $100,000 over our overdraft or, $100,000 plus.
But also the other thing is you can't tell them that. Like you can't tell them. There's nobody to tell.
it is one of the loneliest things that I've ever done.
Yeah.
It still is. Like
100%.
I'm still here. Everything you've just said, I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I had this conversation with you about 12 months ago.
Here's a hug coming through the screen for you.
Thank you.
Little.
I appreciate it. I like your black sparkly. I had black sparkly the other day.
They're green sparkly, actually.
Green
but thank
sparkly,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. And that is actually one of the reasons why I sold the business. Because I was lonely as a sole founder. I was lonely doing all of that hard graft and difficult thinking and conversation by myself. And I had some people who, I would reach out to. I don't know if you know Chabelle Zeta and we used to get together for breakfast, and we ran competing agencies, but we'd get together for breakfast just to talk about our feelings.
Yep. Mine is Joel Chapman over at Bounce. So big shout out to him. We meet once a month and we call it the management meeting, and we just sit there and go, so
crucial.
How are you?
It's crucial to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And that is definitely part of the reason why I sold, because then I was going into a leadership team with managing directors all around the world who were all trying to do the same thing as I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And we were all working towards our collective success. And being a part of that was really, really attractive. And I was willing to give up some autonomy for that support, for that relationship building. The other thing that I got involved in as well was the CEO Institute, which was also just absolutely crucial in terms of helping me figure out how to run my business, grow my business, sell my business. It supported me through that entire journey. And it's a peer group. Like, calling it a networking thing is just so underselling it. But it's a group of other CEOs who all get together once a month, and we're all from different industries with different levels of experience, but trying to help each other work through our issues and our problems with business in a safe Chatham House rules space. And I credit that organization with a significant amount of my success, which, like, the thread through all of this is, if you get support, if you ask for help, kind of like where we started, if you have scaffolding and structure that assists you, you can be really successful. It's really, really hard to go it alone on this.
And I think that's great advice. And I think, what you framed up so well is everyone who wants to start an agency, everyone who wants to be the head of it, you've got to know what you're getting into. And I think the more lessons and more conversation you can have beforehand around, I know what made me great at my job did not make me a good MD at all.
Oh my God, no. Yeah.
Let's talk about this. I told you it's right here. So I hope you've got one.
I do have one. I think I have like 30 left of the current print run.
Oh, wow. That's great. Congratulations.
I'm taking 40 of them to Hong Kong tonight for the Alibaba Entrepreneurs Fund Jumpstarter Conference, which is a giant show that they do every year. And then not next week, the week after, I'm taking another 30 of them to Seoul, to the Digital Marketing Summit Conference where I'm speaking. I'm about to run out again, which is amazing.
When you talked about where customers are going, where the mindset is going, you're clearly a very empathetic and attuned person. Is there a part of you when you're writing the book that kind of, was there any bias? Sorry, was there any pessimism about where everything is really going from a negative standpoint? Did you confront anything that you didn't think you would be confronting about humanity and where we're really going?
Yes. There's a whole section on ethics in the back and how we look after humans through this disruption to the way commerce works. Because let's be real about this. This isn't just like, buying something through, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Claude. This is a fundamental shift in how we do business, how we acquire things as consumers, as businesses. This is huge. I just read yesterday, Coinbase is creating corporate credit cards for AI agents.
Wow.
Like, this is bonkers.
Yeah.
This is wild shit.
Yeah.
So and it's moving so fast. I barely keep up and I am deep in the weeds on it. It is moving so fast. So I'm kind of worried for people who are not paying attention to this, who are going to get surprised, who are going to get shocked, who are going to be on the back foot. That's part of it. The other part of it is that the people who are stewarding this technology, and I was talking with Adrian Swinsko last night of Punk CX, he was saying we don't have benevolent stewards. And I completely
Absolutely
agree.
not. Yeah.
Well, I think he asked me, do I think we have benevolent stewards? And I said, we do not. We do not. Because if we look at whose moral compasses are driving this, I think we have one organization that has a moral compass, at least. Anthropic and Dario Amodei.
Yeah.
The rest of them.
Well, that's it. Like, I heard a great argument on The Rest is Politics. They're doing a mini series on AI. Do you listen to it? And he was talking about the argument is, well, if I don't, someone else will. And I think,
fuck off.
Yeah, it's a big fuck off moment.
Sorry, absolutely 100% fuck off.
And it's a really dark thing to say. It is mutually assured discussion.
Sorry, was that Dario Amodei who said that? Who said that?
No,
Sam Altman?
This is an Elon argument. This is a Sam
Oh,
Altman argument.
or he can like fuck off, and when he gets to the other side of that, he can turn around and fuck off all the way back again.
Yeah. Look,
Sorry, when your
that's
large
it.
language model like undresses women and children, and instead of fixing it, what you do is make it a paid feature. You can.
Yeah.
I have no words for that level of depravity.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was a dark, well, that it still is dark, but I think we're seeing the darkest parts of humanity and tech bros coming out. When you were when you were writing the book, was there a part of you that thought, "What if I'm wrong? I'm putting everything I know down on paper. I'm publishing it. I'm putting it out there." Did it ever scare you? Were you ever worried that, "What if I'm wrong? What if people don't like this?" What was that? What was that like for you?
I was less about what if people don't like this, and more, I knew there were going to be things in it that were wrong. Like, I was editing right up until they told me, "I'm sorry, Katja, you can't touch this anymore. We're about to print it." Because stuff was happening. New things occurred. While I was writing it, ChatGPT launched agent mode. Perplexity launched Comet, which was the precursor to Computer, which is now launched just in the last, week. And like already there's things in that book that were of that moment in time. Which was less than like 6 months ago. Like it's crazy how fast this is running. But I made friends with that because what I had determined with this book is that there's stuff in it that's evergreen around customer experience and humans, ethical conversations, and how to approach this. And I knew that would stand the test of time. But I also knew that there would be probably 20% of stuff that maybe would have moved on, or not be quite right anymore, or have been overtaken by something different in technology and landscape. And I made peace with that because I thought it was more important to have something out there driving the conversation in a positive direction that was 80% there than something that was 100% perfect and too late, just too late.
I love that.
Yeah, we have a narrow window to make this work.
And I think if we spend too much time navel gaze or crystal balling in a sense of, well, we don't know, but this could possibly, rather than saying this is a pretty good estimate. This is an informed opinion. This is a point of view. And I think if we lose those points of view,
and whatever is abjectly wrong, if there's something abjectly wrong in it, do you know what? I'll fix it in second edition. And that'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be good. So
that'll be okay.
You've had 30 years of asking organizations to like be more ethical, more human-centered, more considered. Was there anything that you used to believe that was absolutely right that you 180'd on in those 30 years?
Something that I have rethought. I have definitely moved away from a purist mindset on the right way to do things. I remember working, I was probably in Commonwealth Bank at the time, and I look at some of the ways that I was doing work and what I thought about other people in the industry. And again, like so arrogant, that I knew the right way to do experience design and my way was the right way. And everybody else who was like doing it a different way or a way that I thought was subpar, I looked down on people who were not really high-minded in the craft. And to anybody who I made to feel inadequate, I'm so sorry. That was shitty.
Late stage cringe, late stage self cringe.
It was so shitty. But I've definitely moved away from that, strongly held belief that it's not that there is a right way to do things, but I think that there's definitely a wrong way to do things. And being able to identify that wrong way and go, I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to be better. I'm going to live by my values. I'm going to, adhere to my moral compass on this. I think that is something that I've definitely rethought over the decades.
And I think a lot of people from a practitioner background, I'm seeing it now in the product space. There are zealots.
Mm.
There's real, and I'm like, I don't think we've been around long enough to be able to do these things this deeply and this
I
best
also,
practicey.
yeah, I also can't stand the conversation about normies,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
apparently there's the specials who get it, and there's the normies. And I remember this conversation, like it must have been 2014. I was at a conference, and somebody had a conference talk title saying the normals are freaking out because for
Yeah,
some
I can remember
reason
that.
about the way that we did our design practice um, was now starting to hit mainstream practices in other industries, and and the normals were freaking out. And I remember sitting in that lecture theater thinking, who the fuck are we to think we're so goddamn special, that we're so much more special than everybody else, that we can look down on them and go, well, you're normal. I'm special. And
Was that when?
that is happening now again in the AI conversation where, oh, Claude Cowork, it's like Claude Code, but for normals or
Yeah,
normies, Claude Code for normies.
I think the 2014 conversation was when design thinking became a thing,
I
right?
think I'm
Like
pretty sure that
sketch
was the
it
moment.
first, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure lots of people have done this, and now we've put some good principles around it. So they're
Yeah.
allowed to do this. Like, don't gatekeep it, don't other them because your status is suddenly being dropped. Then you
Mm.
might have to go and think a little bit harder about what you thought was so special.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Like that you nailed it. It's a status thing. It is absolutely when Claude Cowork gets launched, and now me as a non-coding human, I can set up
Yes,
my own
yes.
OpenClaw agent and like make all of that stuff work, and set it to do research tasks for me, and have all of this magical stuff. People for whom that was locked down to their skill set are now feeling their status challenged. And in order to answer that status challenge, they have to shit on people and call
Yeah.
them the normies.
It's like Canva versus Photoshop, the real designers, the not real designers. Um, two more questions.
Mm, mm.
The first one is a bit generic, but I think it's still an important one. What's the advice you'd give your younger self? If you've been working in these careers for 30 years, let's go back right to the start. 30
Mm.
years ago, what's the advice you'd give to your younger self?
Don't take shit from other people that you don't have to. I mean, I just look back at some of the shit, and I'm not a shrinking violet, and I never was. This has never been my problem. Confidence has not been a problem. But I think that I definitely let people get away with shit that I shouldn't have. And I'd like to have a do-over on some of that stuff. I mean, if I think about some of those very early days in agency land, I wish I'd found a way to elevate myself in those kinds of conversations, and to make more of a space for myself. Um, I
Yeah.
just I Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just really interesting. You said, I've never had a lack of confidence. It's the things I should have said. And I think that's it's such an insightful thing to say, because I think people who are like yourself, very confident
Mm,
and in a sense come across as quite extroverted, come across as very
mm.
direct. There are still moments when we probably, our choices or our behaviors have betrayed our own confidence. And I think one of
Yeah,
the
we
things a
never
lot
get
of,
it right all the time.
yeah,
Or even sometimes, I mean, imagine if you were super self-confident, said the right thing all the time. Like
how boring.
insufferable would you be? Insufferable. And I think that there's some balance to that, and everybody has to make mistakes. And I would never take back any of the mistakes that I made. But I do remember the very first time when in a business context, I stood up for myself as a woman in the room, when it was me and I think about 10 dudes in London at a bank. And I was supposed to be running the show as the project manager at that time. And the man sitting next to me from the client turned to me and said, "Oh, will you be taking notes?" And I said to him, "Why?"
God.
"Because I'm the only woman in the room." And then I went, "Oh shit, I said that out loud." But it was amazing. Like, it was like I put salt
good.
on a snail.
Yeah.
It just went,
Awesome. No, I think that's great.
but it's like, that's absolutely stuck in my memory as this moment where I claimed my space. And I was like, no, I'm not going to take that.
And it's for that split second where we're terrified to make somebody feel uncomfortable but they've just made us feel uncomfortable, yet we're still feeling guilty about it, you know?
I think that I don't feel guilty about that. I'm very at peace with
Good.
that. But what I do subscribe to now is I am not going to shrink myself so that I'm palatable and others can swallow me. I will absolutely stay the size that I am, and they can now freaking choke.
I love it.
But you only get there with so much experience. So like,
you got to own that choke.
It's not for everyone. And I'm not for everyone. And I'm also deeply at peace with that now. Whereas before, maybe I might have been more inclined to, put myself into a shape that was going to fit. Now I just don't care. And that's an amazing upgrade to get as you get older. So everybody who's young, who's going to get old one day, it's okay. Like, it works out well.
Yeah. Maybe you've just answered the final question then, because it was going to be, what's that number one lesson you've learned to survive agency land now here at the top, having with such an illustrious career behind you? What has been that one lesson? Ask for help.
Wow. Do not go it alone. You will not survive. You just will not survive. This is not if you want to go it alone, you should be a solopreneur. You should be a freelancer. You should just be a contractor who takes contracts and does it for themselves, because it is a team sport. And also, like, not to get all warmongery in my language, but it's a bit of a live fire exercise.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff happens and it's for real. Like, you don't necessarily get do-overs. It's like, if you break a client trust and you ruin a client relationship, you don't get a do-over on that. And that means the difference between you being able to make salaries this month and not make salaries, and all the people depending on you going, why am I not getting paid? This is it. And so you cannot go it alone. Even if you do, just like you and I do, your management team meeting or your management meeting, and my like sanity breakfasts that I used to do, the peer groups that I'm involved in with people who are there to help you. You gotta ask for help and do it as a team sport.
Absolutely love it. Katja, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for spending the time with us. Well, me, there's us. Well, there'll be an us.
I don't know. Maybe some people will listen. You just never know.
You never know. But I really do appreciate it. And I think anyone who's considered starting their own business is a woman in tech field, is a woman in any field, is anyone who wants to do anything themselves. You've just given even just me a lot of insight, just thinking about my own career and kind of where I've come from and where I want to go next. So thank you. I can't thank you enough. And
I'm super glad to be here.
Agency Land, a Survivors podcast, is hosted and produced by me, Jai Smith, founder and head of creative and strategy at Double Star Co. Our intro track, Crash and Burn, featuring North Lanes by Phase 1, used with the kindest of permissions from Fat Cat Music. Special thanks to Carla Munn and Jaron Norton for the art, design, and motion. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, leave us a review, and share it with somebody navigating agency life. Until then, you're good, get better, and stop asking for things.